Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pianolin TV. My name is Alex,
I'm Jeremy.
and today we're going to be talking about stress. Now, stress comes into many types of factors, and I'm sure many of you have, experienced stress ever since growing up, even as kids. Probably there's probably like a type of food or game we want, and we always nag our parents to, get it for us. And that could be a stress when they say no, they won't give it to you, and then you just start crying, thinking that will help. But stress also comes in factors when we're also growing up, and you know, stress sometimes can be a good thing, or sometimes could be a negative thing. It depends how you use it. So, Jeremy, why don't you tell us more about what is stress?
Well, I guess it's when you have something you need to do and it's not easy. That's when you
Right,
feel stress or
right.
pressure.
Hmm.
And so when your work is a little bit over what you think you can handle, that's when you feel the stress. And of course, as musician, right? Both of us, when you have a performance, you have to perform in front of audience, and that's not something like an everyday feeling. So I think that's one of the big things that becomes part of the stress. Also, when you perform, you only get one chance for that performance, and so everything that you do in that performance is what is going to stay. And so I feel that also, especially before you start performing, that's when you feel the stress.
Right. We'll get more into that as we talk along. But for those who, aren't musicians, right, they also experience stress themselves and many types of factors. It's something that's overwhelming for the mind, right? For the either it's physically or mentally, it's quite taxing at times. And if you're not able to, be able to use that energy for something positive, it might really negative impact your life. And when things are a mess, right? When things don't go exactly your way, we freak out. It's in our, I guess, human nature for us to want to do something right and something to go our own way. But it sometimes doesn't do that. And for musicians, we face that all the time. Um, like for example, growing up as a musician has its a lot of perks. You get to play music every day. You have the opportunity to um, make music and learn music, and music is also a language that is universal. Um, but as musicians, as going into a career is quite demanding. Um, Jeremy, how does being a musician become stressful for you in terms of anything that you've done so far?
Well, I guess you have to practice every day. You have to prepare a lot of different music, and the progress is not always like this, and it's
Yeah,
always
it
like
doesn't it
right,
doesn't it doesn't go up, and
right,
practice I think is one of the many things that if you're in music or if you're not even in music, practice is something that is mandatory for everything you do. Um, doesn't matter what you do. You could be an athlete, or you could be a marketer, or you could be what else? Office job, right? So being an office job, sometimes for the first day, you've never done it before, is pretty stressful, right? Everything, the surrounding is quite new. Um, so practicing for us, I mean, how often do you practice German when you are in a university and you are
right.
taking lessons and taking classes?
Right. I mean, Yeah, of course. Maybe I practice every day and then have the lesson every week. And of course, you have to prepare for that lesson. And maybe before you are going for your lesson, you suddenly it doesn't go well. You're practicing, but it doesn't go well. Of course, you feel the stress. And then in the lesson, maybe oh you practiced that part. We were practicing, it went fine, but in the lesson it doesn't go well.
That really happens to
That,
me a
right.
lot. Um, I'm preparing a piece and maybe it's 1 or 2 weeks, right? Um, and it just doesn't go in the lesson. I get nervous, I freak out, and I think to myself, "Oh my gosh, played so bad." And in my practice room, I sounded so great. Why is that? Um, Go ahead, Jeremy.
That's also part of the pressure too, I think, because of course you play for your teacher every week, but when you practice, you're alone. You play for yourself. But in the lesson, even if it's the teacher, every week you have someone watching you. And so that's, even if you are aware of it or not, there's a little bit of pressure.
What are you thinking when you are playing for your teacher?
Well, I would just say I want to play the best or that I can, or of course, improve from the previous week.
Anything that runs in your mind as you maybe, let's say, you enter your teacher's studio?
Well, I guess maybe what do I want to play today?
Wow, you seem so chill playing for your lessons. I guess it's a different experience for me as I don't know, I studied with great teachers
Mm,
and I'm sure you did too, but you have that chill mentality. For me, if someone is so great and I go play for them, I'm
mm,
so nervous. It's like, oh my gosh, this great teacher is going to listen to me, and if I play terribly, I'm wasting their time because a piano lesson or violin lesson, any type of instrumental lesson is usually 1 hour, and that 1 hour goes by really quick. And you know how teachers' schedules are so crammed with so many other students.
right.
Um, and if your teacher's having a bad day, let's say a student before you just didn't play well at all, right? And it just pisses your teacher off.
Mm.
And your teacher can take it out on you if you play worse or in the same level. So that's really stressful. It's not entirely your fault, but being in that situation, how would you how would you handle that?
Well, of course, I mean, I guess it really depends on the person and also depends on the teacher too. Because, well, you have to think about, well, I mean, everyone is a different audience too. So I sometimes, when I maybe feel pressure for a concert, right, I have to perform. I think about when I'm the audience. I'm maybe listening 60% energy. I'm not 100% energy listening. So you have to feel, so these audience, they're relaxing. And so I should be relaxed too. And same thing in the lesson. Your teacher, I mean, depends on how you think of it, but the teacher teaches many days a week, listens to many different people. They're kind of used to it. They're not 100% energy for every single student. Maybe if they had 10 lessons in that day, the ninth lesson, they're not 100%. So of course you have to try your best, but you have to know that you don't you're not um they're not as aware of you as you are aware of yourself.
Right, you are your own worst self-critic,
Right, right.
and that plays a big role in stress factor. Sometimes we need to think about it in terms of, let's just take back a step, like you said, and just
Right.
relax. Stress is a form of physical tension and mental tension. in which case, as I said before, it affects you as a whole. And if you're not able to transform that negative energy into positive energy, it's gonna take you down. It's like a own human consciousness that you're battling. And if
Right.
you are to win that war, you are going to have to find a way to not let it overtake your body and mind.
Right. It's the same. I mean, performing is the same. Also, like, if you were to do an interview, right? The interviewer already listened to maybe 20 people's interviews that day, right? You're gonna be the one that remembers your interview the most, you know.
Mm.
So you have to know that maybe you're really nervous for that interview, but the interview is probably really tired by that time, you know.
Right. So, well, we've talked about our practicing, right? And for our lessons, they're so integrated, and that's what as musicians, many musicians go to conservatory or university to study, and it could be very hectic. Um, I remember going there for the first time. I was really excited and seeing so many musicians like-minded wanted to pursue music as their career, and we all love music. That's why we decided to attend the school. But one question comes into mind when I was practicing: am I do I fit in with these people? Am I good enough? After hearing so many pianists play, I was amazed. And all of the students, um, I grew up, in America, and I basically just know Americans. So I really didn't know what was outside the United States, what kind of people there are, what different cultures I was going to face. Culture barriers is also one thing, and that can play a role in when you're not used to it.
Right.
So
Especially when you went to Manhattan school, and a school like that, there's gonna be so many different culture mixed in. And I guess where you come from in South Jersey, you don't see that many different cultures.
no, it's I grew up in a culture of pop music and rock and roll, and that's so unrelated to classical music in terms of um, the complexity of classical music. I played piano on stage in school. I played around, and I mean the people appreciated what they listened to. But is it something that they really understand? And at that stage, I was not capable of explaining what I was playing. I just learned the music from my teacher and just play.
Right. And so maybe we could talk a little bit about before you perform, right
Right.
before you
Right.
perform.
Oh my goodness. This is the ultimate stress factor besides just preparing. This is this is like you have to be on top of your game, basically. Like everything you worked up from the previous days, months of preparation. This day is your day. And most people, including myself, have uncontrollable nervousness or anxiety. And I think it's because when you said, Jeremy, you just play for yourself in the practice room. No one's listening to you. But when you're going to be on stage, it doesn't matter if it's one person or it could be 100, could be 1,000, full house. It's the energy that passed down between the performer and the audience that really is very contagious. And I think it affects many people, not only during the performance, but also before.
Right, right. I think well, maybe not that much now, but uh before when I was maybe in high school or something around that age, right before you perform, you almost feel like you want to disappear, you know.
Yes, I
But
understand that.
right. But I mean, of course, now I mean, of course, I enjoy it more, and I think I could take a little bit more relaxed approach because I guess when you're around like early 20s, late 10s, you take the life much more seriously. And then, but once I think, especially maybe as you get older in the low 20s, around 22, 23, 24, around that area, you start to feel much more relaxed. And then, so I guess you feel not as excited about everything, you know.
Really,
And so,
you don't feel excited still as you're getting older? You feel more relaxed even when you go out to perform?
yeah, I feel now I'm more relaxed. But I mean, I've heard people who say they once they're old, they get older and older, they practice harder. So they're actually more nervous now than they were before. But I feel I'm the opposite because I don't know. I guess I've done it a lot, you know. Um,
I think you're just one of a kind, Jeremy.
but you
You know,
know, it's
there's special people like you.
right,
Just to get older and you're just more relaxed and you're not thinking too much about music, which is commendable. That's amazing.
right. I guess it's also because you do it a lot too, you know. Because
Mhm.
let's say if you eat something, you eat lobster or something, right? The first time you eat lobster, you're gonna be excited, right?
Right.
But the 10th time you eat lobster, you're not as excited as the first time, right?
Hmm.
And by the 50th time, you might not even want to eat it anymore.
I could see your ideas on that. You know, as we see the great artists, you know, performing all over the world, talking about pre-COVID, of course, I could see that they're very confident, and I can tell by the way that they play, they're so immersed into the music, and it's something you do very often, like you said, eating lobster, and you keep doing it, you're gonna get used
Right,
to it, but you're not gonna love it. But I think performing
right,
is different. When you perform constantly, you're still gonna love it because you're doing different types of repertoire and
right,
you're in a new environment and you have new audiences every time you perform. So that's
right,
also, you know, I think consistency is what many musicians lack. Um, you know, being in a conservatory university, you're studying in school, you're not given a lot of opportunities.
right,
I guess for as speaking from aside from piano, right? Pianists
right,
don't get that opportunity as much as you guys. You guys have an orchestra, right? And that's
right,
mandatory for you to prepare. You have like several concerts a semester.
right, right. And also, well, that concert that we did about a few weeks ago,
Yes.
I actually really enjoyed because I didn't perform any solo concert for almost 2 years. So if you think about it, it's like you didn't eat the lobster for 2 years.
Hmm.
After you don't eat the lobster 2 years, it's going to be great, you know?
Right, right. That's great that
Right,
you haven't performed for that long and then you just
right,
it simply enjoyed the concert
right. And
playing.
then before, it's like I was eating the lobster once a month or something like that. But then after 2 years of none,
Right.
right,
Well, performing is unpredictable. You know, it's also like how you feel during that day. No matter how much you prepare, um, your mental and physical health is important, right? I
right, right.
remember one day I woke up with a fever
Mhm.
and I was coughing and I had like snot coming out of my nose when I woke up. I did not feel well, and I didn't feel well at all. And I said, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to perform today?" My recital was at 3 p.m. that afternoon. I woke up maybe 10 a.m. And what I did was I cleaned myself up. I took a shower. I freshened myself, and I ate good food. And then I took a nap. And then I woke up. And I took some medicine. Um, After that, I was thinking to myself, wow, my concert is coming up soon, 1 hour, and I kind of forgot about my sickness, right?
Yes.
I totally
Right.
forgot about it. My adrenaline just took over, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to play in front of these people." And I think this was one of my master's recital in Manhattan. And during the entire performance, I was thirsty. That's the only downside. During
Mm.
my performance, I was thinking, "Oh my goodness, I'm so thirsty." During my Chopin sonata, and I was a little bit distracted. And
Mm.
every time I played a piece, I finished it. I actually went backstage to keep drinking water. I think this was the effects of the medicine. But
Mm.
after the concert, I felt phenomenal.
Mm.
I couldn't believe I could play in front of those people being sick. And I think, you know, some of the stress that you get from before it
Mm.
sometimes just disappears during your performance because you're enjoying it so much. It's like you get yourself into the groove,
Mm.
right? And once you get your foot stuck in the groove,
Mm.
you're gonna most likely you're going to fly, and it's gonna be successful. But after that, that evening, I was
Mm.
dead.
Mm.
Meaning I was so sick because I used up all of my energy in the performance, and I had to take a week to recover.
Well, I feel, when you're not feeling well and you concentrate on something, or you have to do something, your sickness kind of goes away.
Mhm.
And I feel even it's the same with, like, let's say you have like an allergy or something, the skin
Right.
allergy, and then you keep coughing or something. But when you're under the pressure, it goes away. I think maybe something about your body.
Yeah, like I said, the stress, right? You're in a war with stress, and you got to find ways to overcome it. And sometimes our natural instincts, in terms of natural adrenaline, that overrides the stress. And that's what's important, how you can use it to battle against stress and turn it into something positive.
Right.
So, um, we've talked about lessons,
Mm.
practicing, and we talked about performance. Those three things are major, major circumstances that affects in a musician's life. But what are you gonna do with your career? Doesn't
Right,
that
right.
come into your mind? Um, sure, when you're young, you go into school, you do your studies, your academics, you meet great people, you learn from great teachers. But
Mm.
your time in school doesn't last forever. It's going to expire. You're going to graduate.
Right.
So what are you going to do after?
Me personally.
Well, you or
Mm.
in general, what our viewers are listening to us.
Right. So, like I mentioned in our previous episode,
Hmm.
so I decided to do two different careers, and so I could still keep doing the music while I also have something that keeps me stable. So I think that was the best option for me, since of course it's possible to do only music, but it just requires another kind of energy, you know.
Right. When you were in college Germany,
Right.
were you thinking about your future as you were, progressively getting older and getting closer to graduation?
Well, of course, a little bit, but not detail. I was just focusing on every day, just doing day by day.
So
But
did you have I don't know if this is something
mm,
pertainable to you, like short term and long term goals?
no, I didn't really have any long-term goals, I guess, since that time I was just doing music itself. And I think maybe all that's important in music is, I mean, of course you have to be lucky and you have to have good connection with people, but all that matters in the end is how you play.
Right.
And so I was just working on my playing every day. And I guess that time, I mean, that was good for me too. I mean, now it's it's a skill that you can never lose, you know.
Right.
So, well, I mean, but now I feel, yeah, I feel I'm probably happier now than before, because before I just had music, and then like we talked before, every day is not gonna go well. And then if music is the only thing you have, that's what your life is based on, you know.
That's
So
right. That's right.
yeah,
And many musicians face that dilemma.
right,
Um,
right, right.
they,
So
they studied um, ever since they were a kid, most of them, right? And they just grew
right,
up.
right,
They just grew up playing music.
right, right. It's like, like the sports people too. I've heard the sports people, they have like a year where even their practice, and of course their practice doesn't go well, so their matches doesn't go well, and they're like crying every day because that's all they got, you know. So I feel it's good for me that I have many things to do. And
Right.
so like if my playing doesn't go well, I have like a slump, you know. It's not it's not affecting me as bad, you know, because
Yeah.
right,
Wow, that's so cool to know.
right,
Like one thing you do it, doesn't work out. Oh, I got my other job.
right, right, right,
But a
exactly,
lot of musicians, to be honest, don't know other
right,
paths of
right,
careers besides music. So you were very intelligent and
right,
to pursue that um, hybrid career.
right. And
And
then now, actually, because I'm not as, I don't have that much pressure with my playing. I don't have that many slump anymore, because I feel that slump usually just comes because you're stressed,
yes,
right?
I agree.
And so when you have a kind of a, how do you say, you're more relaxed about it, you do it as enjoyment, you don't have you know what I mean, those slump.
Yeah, those downfalls.
Right, right,
And besides going to a career, if you decide to really fully pursue career like me, going to music, it's not predictable really. It's also, it's not how well you play, it's really also who you know also, and being able to connect with others. Just
right,
being by yourself and just practicing your art doesn't really guarantee you a career in music. It's just, if you're introverted and um, you don't have that personality to want to talk to people, or you're afraid, it could be very troublesome. Because if
right,
you're just in a practice room all day, how can you
right,
meet people? There's
right,
there's no chance. I mean, there's social media. I mean, technology is viral. Everyone's using it, but
mm,
everyone knows it's not the same as having a conversation, talk face to face, or even over the Skype, the Zoom, FaceTime, or even audio call. It's so different compared to texting. And the more you do it, the better you get. So even if you are shy, just try to jump out of your comfort zone. Just be a little bit more risky. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. Because if you don't start now, you'll never do it.
right.
So other ways to handle stress is really do what everything and everyone does. Eat, right? We're just talking about lobsters. Man, I haven't had a
Right.
lobster for so long. And that
Right.
juicy lobster with butter and lemon.
Mm.
Oh my, you're making me hungry. But food makes you happy, makes me happy. And I think a lot of in our lives, it really is one of the things we look forward to when we're hungry, right? Our body is just deprived of food, needs energy, and you eat good food. And that I think will take away some of your stress, right?
Right, right.
And
And then not just, well, I mean, that's also great too, but maybe you could watch some YouTube. You can, so like the 30 minutes before you perform, you're in that stress mode, right? You feel the pressure, you feel your performance is coming. Instead of just going over your passage, maybe watch a YouTube or something, a
I
little
can't
bit.
I can't do that, man. That I'll get too distracted. I'll be thinking if I'm looking at a short YouTube video and it's about like making pizza,
Right.
man, you're gonna get me starved, right? And
But
then
that,
when I
right,
come out on stage, I want to say,
right.
oh man, that pizza on that YouTube video was so good. Like I get distracted.
But at least that takes your mind off your, because before that you're 100% focused on your performance, right?
Mhm.
And you're so pressure about the performance. But if you watch the YouTube, maybe you're 50%,
Yeah, but what if you go out there, right? You
Right,
you take out your violin, for example.
right,
You're dressed up. You were just watching a YouTube video about pizza.
right.
You go out, and then you lift out your violin, and you also lift your bow, ready to play, and then you start thinking about that pizza. How do you think that?
You won't, because
Really?
right, because when you get onto that stage, it's totally different. For me, at least. I mean, once you get onto that stage, you forget about everything.
Man, you and I are so different in perceiving music. It's
Right,
incredible, and it's great for for our listeners to know both sides of musicians. No musician is ever the same,
right,
and you know why there's so many recordings out there, right, from different artists, and that's what is stressful. Is um, if you're going to be concertizing or doing recordings, performing, you always have that mentality of being compared to others. There's so
right,
many talented musicians around the world, right? And definitely
right.
for me, it's overwhelming. And sometimes I think about it and I say, wow, these people are so good. Maybe I should just quit. But
Right, but right,
yeah,
right.
it's different.
Mm.
I go back to music and I play and I hear the the beautiful sounds I'm producing on the piano. It just makes me think differently. So it's like in imagination could be a curse to your stress.
Mm. Oh, oh, right. I mean, it's. I mean, of course, you're a professional pianist, so you're in a very It's not the same as if you were doing it as a hobby.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
right, is it because I mean, let's say those people who play let's say play tennis in the park.
Mhm.
Those people playing in the park, they're just hitting, they're not focusing on any technique, they're just doing it for the enjoyment. And those people, they're not like, I'm gonna take on Djokovic. I mean, but but at your level, you have to think a little bit, I'm gonna take on Djokovic.
Right,
Right,
right. I
right.
mean,
So
there's a lot of professional musicians out there, but there's also, as I said, amateurs or music lovers or people who just started listening to classical music. Um, I think you're right. Like if you're in that field and you only got that
Right.
field to go, it's quite stressful.
Right.
And the way I handle it is really just taking one day at a time, like you said. Take one day and just do your best. And don't
Right.
think too far ahead. Or if you start thinking too far ahead, you're gonna get all these kind of like thoughts. Could be positive, but some of them could be really negative, and it just builds and builds, and you just eventually collapse. And sometimes you doubt yourself.
Right. And you also have to know that like you're gonna die someday. Everyone's gonna die. And I think human is the only animal that makes some purpose to their life.
You sure?
Because
There may be, I think this is like could be another up for debate.
well,
We're
because
not the, we
the
might not be the only living things that have a brain.
but I think Nietzsche, the philosopher,
Yeah.
I think his theory is that there's no purpose to life. And I mean, it's true. I think if you think about like the bears, the deers out there, they're just living because they're living.
Hmm.
And they just eat every day and they sleep every day. That's all they do. They're not playing concert. They're not even going to watch concert.
Right. They don't
And
even make money
right,
to go
right,
to groceries. They just I don't know, what do bears eat?
right. But
Like
it's just
they animals don't need to think like
right,
humans. They survive in nature, and I think like for many humans like like us who just been thrown out of nature, we're gonna be pretty lost, right? Without a house
right,
and without clothes, you're gonna
right,
have to
right,
adapt to the nature.
right. But the really old humans, that's what they did. So I mean, when you die, when the human dies, it's not different from when the bear dies. You know.
Well, you may have a funeral, and other people remember you for who you are.
Well, yeah, I guess. But after that, it's the same.
Well,
Um,
your legacy may
your
be
legacy.
remembered for for many generations
Right, right,
if you make it that far. Um,
right,
but yeah, as you said, taking one day at a time, and don't think too far in the future. And
right,
what I always live by is be happy, right? I mean, I guess for me, happiness is the greatest thing in the world, and that's what drives me to do many things in life. Um, I can't imagine a life being miserable all the time and how all those negative emotions would just surround me. I would just collapse myself.
right, right.
Well, that's it. What for talking about stress, and
Right,
it was really fun talking with you, Jeremy, about your experiences. Some of them I don't even know myself,
right,
and we're so different in our perception of
right,
stress. And I think for our listeners here, maybe people are just amazed at you. Even I'm amazed at myself how chill you are about a lot of things. And I don't know, is there a type of secret that you would like to share with us?
well, I mean, of course, I maybe not as relaxed as I look. But but I guess maybe I mean you have to know uh everything doesn't mean as much as you think it does.
Right. Oh, well, looks can be deceiving, but if you can pass it off as being a really chill dude, so be it. Well, that's it for today's episode of Handling Stress. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the box below. And we'll see you next time. Stay tuned.